car. The gap from first back to second. Just less than a second. Not too far back then to Thomas Maziere in car number 15, the Telecom Mobile Net Commodore. Team partner is Wayne Gardner in car number 16, runs in fourth. Back in fifth spot, Glenn Seaton, PJ Falcon. Sixth spot is Dickie Johnson. Seventh is Neil Crompton. Eighth is Peter Brock. Ninth is Paul Radisich in the second of the Johnson cars. And in 10th spot, it's David Brabham. Anders Olofsson.
First bit of lappery going on, and this is another thing that could make the difference in this race, the slower traffic.
That is incredible. After 3 laps, they're lapping the tail enders. These V8s are honking. So as they come past our position, a 2:16.1 for Scaife on that lap. So we'll just monitor these times. 15.5 may have been a bit unrealistic for these opening laps with a full tank of fuel, but as Gary Wilkinson alluded to before, as the fuel load lightens, the speeds will probably pick up as they approach their first pit stop.
The problem with the Golson BMW in the pit lane, we're told, was the master switch kept flicking off, so they've taped it in the on position for now.
Stay on. You've got to go far with it off. Perkins still trails Scaife. There's Maziere, Gardner, and there's Glenn Seaton, car number 30.
Oh dear. Little cars are already there.
Let's go to our DuPont car paints race cam to provide you the pictures today, thanks to DuPont with Wayne Gardner. As you can see, great angle this, and watch Wayne and the concentration level.
Meanwhile, car 4, this is the second GIO entry. Car prepared by Bob Forbes Racing for Stuart McCall and Peter Gazzard. And they're into the pits very early on. Great disappointment for these two. Stuart McCall at the wheel. And look at this, the little cars. There's the V8s. This is what Thomas Maziere was concerned about. He made point of it at the Tooheys press day earlier in the year. The speed differentiation between the small cars and the big cars across the top of the hill, quite frightening. He was certainly concerned in race conditions. We may have a few collisions on our hands.
Getting a little closer to the tail of Wayne Gardner. The two forwards of Glenn Seaton and Dick Johnson. And it really is a tough job for the guys who run in the small car class here, the 2-litre class. They're trying to have their own race all day. And you've got these guys, and this is where the interest is in the race with the big cars screaming at them, and the speed difference is quite unbelievable.
Like trying to roller skate in front of a stampeding buffalo herd.
Well, you could say that. The exit to Caltex Chase. There's Seaton and Johnson closer this time to the tail of Seaton's car. The rest of them are not too far behind. There's Neil Crompton, the GIO Australia Bob Forbes Commodore, sitting in behind Johnson. They work the front straight one more time as we take Dunlop race cam riding with Dick. Shows the crowd off to the right. Johnson position 6 on the right. Seaton locks it up right in front of him.
Oh dear. That was a very...
Keep it out of the sand.
He'll stay out of the sand, but he's got a lot of cars now to try and pass him, and that was probably something that Glenn Seaton didn't need, and you saw it on race cam. Seaton gets it back under control again. Watch this from another angle, Seaton.
What on earth happened there?
But he catches it, and he's already looking to see where Dick is, lets it float, and tries to stop it as quickly as he can to let the cars up the inside of him.
He's a lucky boy. Now there's one of the 2-litre cars already out of the race, sitting against the earth bank on the approach to BP Cutting.
Greg Easton and Kurt Kratzmann, I think car 66, yes it was.
Not a good place to park for the remainder of the day.
Isn't it getting tight at this end of the field though? There's Peter Brock, Paul Radisich behind him, and Brocky is just tailgating Neil Crompton in the GIO car as we take Mobile One race cam to bring you this view across the top of the mountain with Brocky.
Superb Chevy V8 working hard up in front of him. Brock in position 8. Brocky's had a few engine problems earlier in the week with push rods in the Chev V8. They've managed to find a different type of push rod, and they've got a great amount of confidence that this engine's going to hang together for 1,000 Ks.
Brock and all the cars in front of him are running in the 2-minute 16-second bracket at the moment, which is a very quick pace.
The second GIO car that's in the pits we saw a few moments ago, you might have noticed they were trying to mop something up off the floor. It's got, I don't know how the oil's got in there, but oh, they fixed it anyway.
What's an oil leak?
Cole and Gazzard out. Let's hope the same fate doesn't befall the 7 car with Crompton and Gibbs aboard. So the big mover here, Paul Radisich, just taken Peter Brock. So a bit of speed coming from the car 18, the second of the Shell Falcons.
The Golson car going back into the pits again, so I don't know if it's switched to the off position again. There's Paul Radisich.
It's going to be fascinating to watch this pace unfold. We saw at Sandown a cracking pace in those opening laps. And quite a few retirements, engine unreliability. So as we get to that critical stage of this race, a few hours into it, it'll be interesting to see who's still standing.
The Golson car goes back into the pits. They have their problems down there. Race continues with Mark Scaife leading the pack. And Paul Radisich doing a marvellous job so far. Glenn Seaton rejoining in 12th position after his spin.
It'll be interesting to get to the bottom of that. Looked like a fairly harmless sort of minor lock-up turning to the corner, but it went all the way around. Very, very expensive mistake for the Peter Jackson team.
First to the BMW opposition, running in 10th position at the moment, some 22 seconds behind the leader, Mark Scaife.
Coming up on slower cars under Tui's Red Bridge at the top of the hill. And there's our race leader, Mark Scaife, and Larry Perkins is not letting him get too far away. Let's check them out for you, courtesy of Caltex on our race score. It's Mark Scaife leading the great race from Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. Third is Thomas Mazera. Fourth is Wayne Gardner. And fifth is Dickie Johnson. Sixth spot, Neil Crompton. Seventh is Paul Radisich. Eighth is Peter Brock. Ninth is Brabham. 10th is Tony Longhurst. Watch those little bimmers. Back at Bathurst, just a moment.
We rejoin the Tui's 1000 as cars commence their 8th lap of the great race for 1993. The race has been running just over 18 minutes. Neil Crompton hotly pursued here by Radisich in the second of the Shell Falcons. Dick Johnson, in fact, is just up ahead of them. Crompton in position 6 at the present time and about 12 seconds adrift of the race leader Mark Scaife at this stage, and a few spots of rain starting to fall on the circuit at the top of the mountain.
We just saw Paul Radisich. We go inside the GIO Commodore as Radisich sneaks through on the inside. I don't think Crompton will be too concerned about that at this stage. They're running to a very definite race plan. They're just going to run with the leaders. Strike the car along there, aware of the toughness of this race on the machinery. And should be a good position to be in at the moment. But rain, a few drops starting to fall, particularly on the top of the mountain. So, once again, we could have a whole new complexion on this race if the heavens really start to open up.
Well, the teams were piling up huge numbers of grooved tyres this morning at the back of the pits because they knew this was going to come at some stage today.
Meanwhile, inside with Dick Johnson, Dunlop race cam aboard car 17. Wayne Gardner, I think it is, up ahead of him, coming increasing fire from the Shell Falcon. Johnson in position 5, challenging 4th. Gardner's been showing some tremendous speed aboard this car throughout qualifying. A very good run in the top 10 yesterday to snare 4th position. For a man who's just entered his first season of tin top competition, that had a very impressive performance. But a guy of his calibre and with a ticker as large as his, it doesn't surprise a lot of people. So Johnson tucks into the draft down behind the wing of the HRT Commodore, trying to get some sort of aerodynamic advantage. He looks down the inside, dabs the brakes as they squeeze through on the inside of the GIO car. I think that may be the lapped. That's correct. Car number 4. So back inside, you can hear that beautiful little small block fuel injected Ford V8 working hard as Johnson heads back toward pit straight once again.
Brakes on at the 150-metre marker.
This will be pretty encouraging for Ross Stone and the Shell team. They've been under fire all week. John Bowe saying to make these times they've been working very, very hard and working the car very hard. But if Johnson's feeling comfortable in this car behind this HRT Commodore, that gives a lot of hope.
And Stone's one of the best engine builders around, and he is extremely confident about these engines going the distance. Second GIO car back to the pits again. This is the car that had the oil leak, was in a few laps back. And it may not be terminal, but it's ruined their day.
Certainly is. Running the Holden V8. But looks like the problems are internal. Maybe a bit of work going on the pedal gear. But it's a major problem. They've been in and out of the pits 3 or 4 times. We go back with Dick. Car 17. These two cars very evenly matched across the top. You can see the times moving. Oh, Johnson has a real look down the inside as Gardner gets caught behind one of the slower cars. You can see how hard they're working to pick their way through the slower traffic. The flags are waving. But boy, there's not a lot of real estate up there. This track is very narrow across the top. Trying to squeeze these big V8s through the middle of these slower cars is going to be one heck of a challenge as the day progresses. Look at Johnson get slightly sideways there.
Johnson will want to find a way past Gardner fairly quickly too, because bearing down on him all the time is his teammate, young Paul Radisic.
It sure is, and word from the top of the mountain is that there is oil down on top of the track. Maybe from the GIO car.
I think from the number 4 GIO car. It's cut loose and it's straight back inside the cabin. But
look at this. Look how close Johnson is. He is filling the mirrors of his HRT car. He's obviously got superior speed across the top of the mountain. It looks like Gardner's holding him up.
So that's where the Commodore had it with the aerodynamic package. That
is really surprising. And I said all week, I just can't believe that the Falcons have only had something like a ½ second lap improvement. And the Holts have had something like 3 seconds. Fords look very strong in race trim at Sandown, and they're looking very strong here. Look at Johnson. He's right on his hammer. He's going to look for a run down the inside of brakes as they come into Caltech's chase. Gardner's
closing as well.
He's proved himself an equally tough customer. There's Paul Radisic behind him in car 18. So the Shell machine, cars running 1-2 at this stage. 5th and 6th position, and a good place to be in these opening laps. So the battle continues. Johnson stays on Gardner's hammer. Meanwhile, Scaife's just crossed the line to another 2:15.8. The times varying. Obviously hit the traffic. Scaife previously did a 2:17.5. So as they hit the slower cars, they're obviously really knocking their lap times around. And the guys who will be really feeling the pinch of the BMWs, Richard, because they can't afford to lose that momentum anywhere, can they?
They can't, and they get if they get caught behind the slower traffic, particularly the slower Commodores, which they can't find a way past on the straights, and then they get held up over the top of the mountain.
Talking BMWs, that 3.5-litre 635 is back in the pits. It's been there a long time. They're running on, well, they're not running at all, but they can only find 5 cylinders. So the Golsons have run their race, I think.
So we go back aboard Dick Johnson's Shell Falcon. Just give you an insight into the engine telemetry that these top touring car teams have access to. If you look on the left, you've got revolutions per minute. You can see Dick's hovering around 6,500 as they head across the top of the mountain. Beside that is road speed in kilometres per hour. And look at the speed, 180 kilometres an hour through this narrow part of the track. Death-defying stuff. Beside that is the gear change points. You can see Dick's almost flat in 4th if he didn't have Gardner in front of him. And below that, a brake indicator. You can see as he's on and off the middle pedal, the light comes on and off. So you've got a good insight into just how hard this Shell Falcon's working. And boy, isn't he working Gardner hard?
Sure is. And you just keep your eye on that speed readout as they head down Conrod towards Caltech's chase, because it'll top out somewhere about 280.
Look at this. Johnson has more look down the inside. Oh! He's collided. There's been a collision. Johnson and Gardner have both spun. Car 18 picks its way through. Gardner survives. Dick.
It's the oncoming traffic that's the worry here. He's right in the racing line. Look at John Bowe
looking on from the pits, and he's trying to get a gear. He's slipping further and further back. You can see the smoke belching from the exhaust as he tries to get the thing going. The engine's actually running, so he's rolling back to see if he can spin it around and get it pointing in the right direction. Dear. That was a costly mistake. Seaton, meanwhile, moves up to 10th position after that earlier spin. What a shame for Dick Johnson. Let's look at that again on our action replay. He's been giving Gardner hell for these 3 or 4 laps preceding. He has a look down the inside, and he gets the back away, and just as he's sliding, he gives Gardner a little tap into the bargain.
Great effort to keep it off the wall.
Yeah, he kept it off the wall. Gardner managed to recover 2.
Not a bad effort by Radisic to get round him.
Fortunately, 18 was able to thread the needle, so Dick's back in the race. What a shame.
Talking of spins, the Glenn Seaton one earlier at Murray's Corner, at Hell Corner.
Look, Johnson got very, very sideways again. Look, they may have a problem here.
They need a set of tyres, I think, after that.
Yeah. Or you may have oil going onto the tyres. He's been slipping all over the place.
Coming in. It's for the pit lane.
So Dick Johnson coming into the pit. As we take roof cam aboard car 17. If it's just a set of tyres, it won't be too damaging, but if it's more